Many times we run into customers who need to upgrade their systems from old analog video to IP. A common theme is that security managers really aren't IT focused, so they essentially need all the help that they can get. They may opt for an integrator or a dealer, or opt to have the IT department help them out with that. Give me some considerations that the customer should be aware of.
So there are some technical differences. The equipment is far more complex typically. Devices are connected to the network, and also the software that's associated with it is running on servers and different types of storage devices, as well as workstations. So all that computer equipment that's associated with it. In addition, there could be software and hardware that is kind of spread out, where previously all of those cameras were wired directly back to one device, meaning that DVR. Now those devices can be spread out geographically all over a facility or all over a campus. Also, software and operating systems. Clearly, when you talk about servers and workstations, there's issues with operating systems and commonality at some facilities and some complexes. In addition, hardware. I mean, hardware requires updates and firmware updates. So the devices in the system may all require updating as the system changes or as it moves into new and different versions. And then there's technology. Technology changes so fast, it's very hard to keep up with it. There are some requirements that are associated with the entire system end to end, just so that if a device that it was existing for a couple of years may have failed, a new device that's coming in to be used to replace that, or you want to add on a new device, you have to be able to think about how you're going to add those devices to the system.
And you mentioned some issues, so what are some other challenges that some of these customers may face?
Obviously, the network piece. I mean, as I mentioned, devices were connected over a single cable back to a central location. Now there are differences and limitations of that distance that a device can be away from the connectivity. So there's a 300-foot limitation to how far the cameras can be away from the network. So maybe the network topology, the layout of those network switches, how in an interconnectivity of the network switches. The hardware costs and that are reoccurring. So by that I mean you have to buy computers and servers and storage that are associated with this. You have to maintain that equipment as working, functioning equipment, and a lot of times that requires that there be a budget associated with replacing those computers on a 3 to 5 year basis, and that's a big challenge for some customers. Keeping the software and the firmware updated. Some systems may require or have software maintenance agreements or SMAs associated with them, and how do you get that information, and then once you get it, what are all the challenges associated with actually applying it to the system, back to that hardware cost that we had worried about. Software may not run on an old piece of hardware based on it being an old operating system, so you may need to upgrade a piece of hardware just because you want to upgrade the firmware. Getting all the right parties involved, that's a challenge. It used to be the security department could pretty much handle all this on their own with the security integrator. Now when we start talking about using network connectivity and all these computers and servers and all this complex storage equipment, do we have all the right parties involved? Do we need to involve IT? Do we need to involve facilities because we're going to need to update the space where the equipment is kept? And the things like that. Do we have the right integrator involved? Does the integrator have experience with complex systems, IT networks, servers, computers, and this new IP equipment that you're looking at? So those are some of the challenges that we have. And one of the big things that's really become a highlight as of late is security. How is the information on the network and in this piece of software that you're talking about, how is it protected? And how do we make sure that the devices that we're adding to the network can't be used in a weaponized situation with people who are trying to access other information on your system?
Wow, yeah, absolutely. So we have considerations and challenges, and then we also have involvement of all the parties involved. I mean, that's a really, really big pill to swallow. The good news is that we at Mid-Chess are security professionals, and we can talk to every single one of those groups, identify those challenges, and give them the considerations that they need for planning.
That's true. We work well with end users. We work well with IT folks. We can help the facilities folks when they talk about what do they need to do with the power protection and the power how much power is needed in a room. What about heating and cooling in a room? We can also help with integrators. Integrators obviously always need to be involved in training. They're always involved with the customer, helping them get from step A to step B. So we can be involved at every level of this and help those people pick and choose what they need to do to get themselves from that old DVR analog world to the new IP video world.